Welcome to the Tech Simple podcast. Independent insights into the latest AV technologies, as well as tips and best practices to optimize AV solutions for modern workplace and learning environments. Here are your hosts, David and Jonathan from Konnectus AV Consulting.
Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Simple podcast. David, you're here with me. Are you excited?
I'm always excited for another episode of the Tech Simple podcast. Jonathan, how are you, mate?
I am doing really well, and I'm pretty excited because today we're going to be talking about something that I'm hugely passionate about, and that is AV technology standards. Now, most people have actually already standardized their AV systems, and if you haven't, you should be thinking about it right now. And what we're going to be talking about are the top 3 reasons why you should be thinking about it right now. Dave, can you tell me, what are those top 3 reasons?
Well, it all starts with user experience. That's the first one. Maintenance and support is the second one. And the last one, especially becoming more and more relevant, is security.
Okay, well, now we know what those 3 things are, but I need to know more. And I'm always keen to understand about user experience because it's so important to AV systems. So tell me more about why the user experience is important.
Well, I think, we're talking about standards, and standards can maybe be a bit of a dry and boring subject, but it's never been easier to standardize the AV systems in your business, your school, your environment, whatever it happens to be. And that's because so many different manufacturers are on the market now putting together solutions which you can pretty much buy off the shelf. There's less complication to them, and that's really important. But let's dig a little bit deeper into user experience and why we believe it's the top reason. Well, first of all, your end users, they deserve, and rightly so, to have a consistent user experience. Whatever AV system they're using in your organization, whether it's a small room or a medium room or a large room or a event space, I don't care. The user experience should be nice and consistent, something they recognize, and easy. That's the number one thing we hear about all the time, easy. Also, reliability. Now, if the systems are standardized and the designs are simple, there's no reason why they can't be reliable as well. I mean, reliability is key. Audiovisual systems these days are a must-have in your organization. They're not a nice-to-have. I mean, we look at, say, the markets of education and workplace. You can't really operate unless you have your AV systems up and running all day, every day, to allow your people to work or your teachers to teach the kids, etc. So reliability is absolutely key. Now, the last thing on user experience I'd like to mention is relevance. So the technology does change all the time, and it needs to be kept up to date. So if you have some standards in place, it's easy for you to revisit those standards, make little tweaks and modifications along the way, and just stay relevant. And I think that's key when it comes to the user experience piece.
That pretty much sums it up really well, David. Reliability, consistency, and relevance for the user experience. And that's why standards can deliver that. And that's so important. Now, something interesting you mentioned before, one of the other key reasons was about maintenance. Can you tell me a little bit more there?
Well, look, maintenance has never been easier if you have the infrastructure set up. So what do I mean by that? Well, all of these devices these days have a network port on them, and you can connect them to your network, and you can take a proactive approach to monitoring and, really getting an understanding of what's happening with your devices. Are they online? Are they offline? Is there an issue? If you can see an issue, you might get the opportunity to fix that issue before anyone even needs to go to that room. You might get alerts in advance. You can maybe just simply reboot the system, and away you go. And no one had to go to a room, which costs time and money and inconveniences people. So huge cost saving. Now, along the same theme is updates. These devices have firmware which is constantly being updated and improved and released by the manufacturers. So you have to have a way to make sure you're on top of that, again, in a proactive way.
So those updates are kind of like on my mobile phone, right? They keep updating and you keep getting firmware updates and they're adding things all the time. Is that right?
Well, 100%. It's no different to that example at all. And so, what you want to be doing is making sure you're on top of that and taking advantage of all those updates as they come along, especially when it comes to feature set, which again goes and impacts user experience. I mean, what if the manufacturer comes up with some new features which might have some benefits to users? And if you are well set up and well organized, you can have those benefits quickly released and the user experience is kept as high as possible. It's optimized. And look, the last thing I'd probably say around the maintenance is just your support. You want to standardize the way you support your systems. There might be some things that you can do internally on your side as a business. The initial triage, the initial support calls you might be able to do. But then you'll want to have an external partner probably who can help you with more technical sort of break fix issues as and when they come about. So to have a standard way of doing things, a standard operating procedure around the maintenance piece is extremely valuable and worthwhile.
I can really see actually how those two things, the user experience and the maintenance, overlap. And if you've got those standardized, you really end up with a seamless AV or seamless technology solution. I think that really speaks to itself.
Definitely.
Now, the last of the three reasons that we were talking about, and you said this is actually a growing, developing area, is security. Now, it's not something that we normally think about with AV systems. Tell me more about security as it relates to the AV systems.
Well, to be honest, Jonathan, you're a bit more of an expert in security of AV systems than I am, but at high level, and maybe you can delve into a bit more of the details here for the listeners. I talked earlier, about firmware updates and software updates and features being released by the manufacturers, but the security patches is just as, if not more important, to stay on top of. You really want to make sure that you have a system and process in place that is standardized, that is planned ahead and highly visible to you, so you know that when security patches come along, you are putting them in place and keeping the organization secure. I mean, with cybersecurity, becoming a bigger and bigger threat to organizations pretty much every day, Jonathan, I mean, you have quite a bit of experience. Tell me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, well, it really comes down to being organized. And I think that's what we're talking about here with standards. We've standardized that user experience so people have a reliable, consistent, and relevant experience with the technology. We've standardized the maintenance, so the monitoring, the updates, and support. So that's kind of all running seamlessly. And then we get that security component. We want to have something standardized as how do we approach critical vulnerabilities? Do we do that same day, next day? Like, how do we approach those? What about, low risk items? How do we approach that? So it really is about saying, okay, security is an issue. We know that there's going to be high ticket items. We know there's going to be low ticket items. How do we prioritize and organize our resources to manage the risk to a level that's acceptable to us?
So at the end of the day, I don't think there's too many other points. We said these are the top three reasons, but in my view, the user experience, the maintenance, and the security is really the whole package. If you can standardize on those three things with a proactive focus, you'll end up with seamless systems and solutions and experiences which are also safe for your business. And that gets you to optimization, which I think all businesses are looking for when it comes to their AV systems.
Well, fantastic. Thank you, Dave, so much. And you heard it from the horse's mouth. If you want optimized AV solutions, you need to think about standardization. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Tech Simple podcast. To like, share, or discover more episodes, head over to Spotify. If you'd like to talk to us about AV in your workplace or learning environment, book an initial discovery call with David or Jonathan at Konnectus.com.au. And remember,